Black Tie Optional is a podcast about people who have figured out how to make a great living doing what they love. We share stories about the highs, the lows, and what pushes them daily to achieve their dreams. My name is Philip Benz, and welcome to Black Tie Optional. You ready to do this thing?
Yeah, dude.
All right, man. Alan, how are you doing today?
Good. It's, Tuesday morning. I'm feeling good.
So first things first, man, the easiest question I got for you. What's your name? Where are you from? And how'd you get started in all this?
All right, so I'm Alan Hardison, and we're from Fremont, North Carolina. It's actually where we put the first concept of the holistic company down in the town of 1200. So that was a fun little challenge. But me and my wife got started in the holistic company out of desperation for some answers for me, really. So I'm diagnosed with cluster headaches, which is a physical side of what I've struggled with, but there's some mental aspect as well. So I'd say mental illness has played a factor in my life. With the desperation, the cluster headaches, that take you to a pretty dark, scary place.
Because those things happen more than one occasion, right?
So I'm also in the 1 percentile range of how severe it is. So I'm in the chronic. There's chronic and episodic. Episodic would be like a seasonal thing. Very easy to know most of the time when and where they're coming. Chronic is just what it sounds like. It could be random. There is still cyclomatic patterns. So if I have one at 11 p.m. tonight, there's a good chance I'm going to have it at 11 p.m. tomorrow night.
Because they call them like alarm clock headaches.
Sure, exactly. So it could be the same time every day or the same time every third day. Or so they'll find a pattern and they'll get it. But what mine like to do that's different from a lot of other diagnoses is if I get that 11 p.m., I may be on a every 3 day 11 p.m., but then I'm going to throw in a 4 p.m. And then it may be every other day. So every third day, 11 p.m., every second day, 4 p.m. So yeah, we just out of desperation, getting in a dark place and knowing I needed to come back from that with 6-month-old child at the time and newly married, and I knew I had a lot to live for. And when you look up cluster headaches, there's very minimal suggestions of Western medication that can help, of which a lot of those medications are destroying the body in other ways.
And Western medication, you're talking about
like conventional pharmaceuticals that we think of, right? So my wife suggested one day, we were sitting on the couch and I was literally just crying, just what do I do? Because I want to be happy in my life, but this ailment won't let me. And she was like, maybe you should try weed. And at this point, we were not living in the world we're living in now, right? This was 10 years ago almost. And CBD wasn't even a thing at that point. So I was forced to go to the black market and break laws. I didn't feel like, at first I did. So I had a little bit of experience with weed when I was younger, but most of the time when you're younger and you're exposed to it, is somebody else introducing it to you, and you're not having to go find it very often or whatever, right? But
it's normally like a recreational type of thing where...
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have a real relationship with the plant. It was more of a social thing, and we were all growing up figuring out things. But then as a grown man going back to the plant, it was a little terrifying knowing that, like, what if I get caught with this little cart? We realized it was helping with the depression and anxiety if I medicated appropriately. Like, that took a while. It took 2 years of smoking myself into a deeper hole at times and realizing, whoa, okay, like, because there's no textbook, right?
You had to figure out the dosing on your own.
Exactly.
What helps you and stuff like that.
And then you're talking about black market products that aren't labeled 20%, so I know how it's going to affect me, right? And then there's no information on what that means either. So then this market came about, and I was using cannabis pretty heavy at the time, and we decided to make a run for it. And we've learned so much and helped so many people at this point that we just keep pushing to go bigger and bigger and bigger. And that honestly has nothing to do with the money. It's just I knew where I was at, And I know that I found relief and quality of life. And with my wife's background in study and what she would bring back to me and educate me, and what I was seeing real world helping me and helping other people in our first year of business, like we've just built a wealth of knowledge that we can really apply specifically some things to help you out.
Now, tell me a little bit about the background before all this, because you were talking to me about it before. You were in the timber industry.
Yep.
So tell me how you got started in that, like where all that stuff came about.
So actually, I always enjoyed the outdoors. And originally, I wanted to fly for the Forest Service because of actually some antidepressants I was on. I had to just kind of step aside from flying in that pursuit of aviation. But at that point, I'm enrolled in the forestry program in Wayne Community College because I wanted to take both of those avenues. So I stayed there, and I started work for a guy that showed me a lot of things for about 2.5 years, and that come to an abrupt end, and I kind of screwed around for 6 months because I had made some money and wasn't really prioritized on living the healthiest lifestyle. I wasn't going too crazy, but it was just like, I'm going to do what I want to do for a little while. But I waited until there was like $12 left, really.
You seem like the type of person that you've always been like, I want to work for myself.
Yes, I knew that early on. Honestly, so when I was young, I worked starting at like 12 years old, even younger than that, trying to hustle up in the neighborhood some money, but I knew that was an itch for me that I needed to scratch. And then as I started taking jobs, it always bothered me that upper management didn't care about the business that I was working in. They were collecting a check. They didn't seem to work as hard as anybody else. And I realized right then and there, if I was going to be caught working for somebody, I was going to be closest to the top as I could and be better than what I witnessed. And that last job, I worked my ass off for that guy. He really hurt me in a big way, and I decided I'd never work for somebody again. I would just be broke or not.
Now let's kind of fast forward back to the holistic company. So, you made that transition from the timber world to the holistic company. You and your wife kind of started this together. So where are we at now?
All right, so we started in Fremont town at 1200. First thing I did is, it was my timber office that I converted, right? Because we already owned the building. Building been locked up, needed renovated. We went in there, cleaned it up, freshened it up, and the first thing I did is slap a marijuana leaf sticker on the window. It was actually my Beards and Blossoms, my grow company logo. Boom. And as I was working in there, people were knocking on the door, upset, driving by, hitting the brakes, beeping the horn, whatever, and telling me how they felt about a marijuana leaf sticker. And I was like, well, if this offends you, you're going to have a lot of problems in a couple of weeks because we're going to have a whole dispensary of sorts here, right? They were upset about it, but when they realized it's the same guy we've known for 30 years, he's no different now. We just know this about him. And then that's also 6 months of Miss Ruth coming in and really correcting her arthritis issues and going to church and telling people, y'all can say what you want, but my man helped me in a big way. I can get up and down out of bed. I was looking at going to assisted living. Now I'll probably get to die at my own home, and you hear little things like that. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but that's huge for me, and the community starts responding really well.
Now, before you just slap that sticker up on the glass, what like legal stuff did you have to, I guess, go around, stuff like that? Because it, at the time and even now, it's still an illegal product, but you guys aren't selling marijuana.
Sure. Yeah, so at the time I had a grow license, but there was nothing you had to do on the retail side. Currently, there's still nothing, just proper business license and deal with your community, your town business board, as well as make sure you pay your sales tax and be a proper business, right? We have to have proper paperwork that shows what each of our products are. But there's many loopholes in the system, right? So we used to have only CBD, and the flower had to be less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC, which is THC in its decarb state. For the last couple of years, been able to access Delta 8, which is just simply another form of THC where it's double banded on the 8th strand versus the 9th strand in that molecule chain, right? So it reacts to the body very similar. There's all kinds of the THCs that were not illegal and were not specified in the Farm Bill that they are illegal. So the Farm Bill specified that specifically Delta 9 THC, which is its decarb form, is the only illegal substance. So anything outside of that is federally legal. Okay, now certain states like Colorado have come in and said we're going to ban Delta 8. Virginia's working on similar style legislation. Florida, just on the other hand, protected everything that the Farm Bill protects and still has a successful medical program. So it's like the Wild West, but we're able to sell THC flower, all natural flower, but it's THC-A, which is this acetate state pre-decarboxylation. So you're looking at, you haven't released that hydrogen molecule on the end of it that allows your body to process it, which happens when you catch it on fire and or put it in the oven, decarb it like you would. This is how all flour works, right? We just have to make sure that that Delta 9 is lower than a 0.3%. And so there's not a total THC law. In 3 states there are, but we're not one of them. And so we have hemp that's federally protected by this bill that's really not much different than what you know as marijuana.
I would assume there has to be some stress in the back of your head, like every single time this debate gets brought up, especially like with the lawmakers and the politicians and stuff like that. Am I going to have a business next year if this bill passes, or if this bill gets declined, or this or that? Tell me about that. Like, does that ever stress you out at all?
And that's what they've done in Virginia. And I'm fighting emotion right now, honestly, because what we've done for people here and at our other locations is important not to lose. And I think there's us and a few other companies that's really trying to take this approach. But this is how cannabis needs to be handled. Now, do we make mistakes? Are we getting it wrong in aspects? Sure. Are we going to be a Fortune 500 company? Probably not. We don't care about any of those things. I don't care about the mistakes that I make as long as we can recover from them and continue to help people. I'm 4.5 years into this thing unpaid. Don't care about the money. It's the testimonies that come back to tell me, hey, I'm no longer suicidal, or hey, I no longer have to go through life depressed, or hey, I can walk again without pain. A child that was molested and had a lot of issues, bedwetting and psychological issues and behavioral issues, and nobody knew what the issue was. They started taking a THC-free gummy, and within a week, I think, the kid had opened up about what had happened, stopped wetting the bed, and became part of the family instantly. This was a 7-year-old child that would go to her room and lock the room at night just to be away from everybody because she was in that much pain. And that one little gummy allowed her to open up to a therapist about the situation. And
what do you have to say to people that they basically call bullshit, or like this does not work, cannabis does not do anything?
I don't have anything to prove, brother. Like, I know I'm alive because of the plants, and I know people have told me they are no longer suicidal because of the way I introduce them to the plants, that's enough. That's enough. If I'm here and even one other person has ever told me that they didn't go that route, I've done my job.
What do you find most rewarding about what you do?
Just that. Hearing people tell me that I've made a difference, because I've been there and my wife couldn't help me. My kid couldn't help me. My shrink couldn't help me. You know, like, I was just there by myself. And the plants weren't all of my healing, but they were everything at the same time. Without those, I wouldn't have made any of the progress. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to make the progress.
It's kind of like the story of that little girl you were talking about, where you kind of opened up that door,
yeah,
to actually get the help you needed and stuff like that. What advice do you have for someone that is wanting to open up their own business or get into a market like this? What advice do you have for them?
I always encourage people to try to go after it on their own. Like, I even have conversations with my employees every day. What does it look like to work for yourself? Just in case it doesn't work out. That way, hopefully they'll have that influence and can go get that freedom elsewhere. So hopefully they stay around, right? But if it doesn't, maybe I, in a way, help them out as well. But advice would be just do it, man. Don't be scared. And I think what people mess up the most is as soon as it gets uncomfortable, or as soon as it gets really uncomfortable, they quit. And it's going to get really uncomfortable unless you're just a freak and in a really niche thing. It's going to get really uncomfortable a lot, because you're going to have to make difficult decisions. You're going to have to put lines in the sands on just going to jeopardize relationships. You're going to have to fire people. You're going to have to take financial risk. It gets difficult. You just got to do it, and then you don't give up. That's the thing, right? It's like we live in a world that it's okay to give up, and we just pat everybody on the back. It's like, man, good try. But it's like, me and my wife have been in situations in real life, and things get tough in a relationship. It's like, I'm not giving up on this relationship. That's not an option. And just like I'm not giving up on my business. So instead of giving up, you got to fix it. I get sometimes sometimes it just gets so ugly that people have to give up. But that's when you'll see me give up, is when I don't have a choice. I think if more people just fought through the uncomfortable aspects of running a business, we'd have a lot more successful people. So I think you just got to know going into it, it's going to get uncomfortable, and be prepared for that. Because from the outside, everybody thinks it's beautiful, right? It's like, oh, this guy works for himself. He makes plenty of money or whatever. They don't have a clue what any business owner deals with on a daily basis unless they've done that very role. Your business looks different than mine. My business looks different than Subdogs or the Scullery or any of these people around us, and we can learn from each other. But ultimately, unless I'm walking in anybody else's shoes, I can't say that they've got it made. And I think people should give business owners that grace, and then know that going into starting a business, and say, hey, this is going to be tough. It's not always rainbows and butterflies, but I'm not going to give up.
Before we wrap this up, one thing I always ask everyone whenever I do this podcast is, if you were to go back and, mentor an Alan at the start of the Holistic Company, or even in your younger years, what advice would you give yourself? Would you change anything? Just imagine you're sitting right next to yourself.
I don't know, man. I think I just tell him go for it. I wouldn't want to ruin the experience for him, me. I wouldn't want to tell them the nasty things that are coming, because then it just scared the shit out of them. And he might not learn the same things he learned from them the first go around. So yes, do I wish things were different? At times, yes, but was it all in an educational opportunity? Also, yes. So I think I would just tell them, good luck. You should do it. Watch out, but you should do it. And let him figure it out all over again, honestly.
Real quick before we wrap things up, what's your name again? Where can we find you? Where are your stores at? Anything that we want to add about the Holistic Company?
Yeah, so Alan Hardison, me and my wife are starting to franchise in Fremont. So we got Fremont, we got Smithfield location, and now Greenville location. Come see us at any of those. We have an online store, theholisticco.com. You can find us on all the social medias, and we got Facebooks as well. And so just the Holistic Company.
Awesome, man. Well, it was good talking to you.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, I appreciate your time too, bud.
Thanks a lot, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and thanks so much for watching. For more on Black Tie Optional, subscribe on YouTube by hitting the notification bell or follow us on social media. Black Tie Optional also streams across all podcast platforms, so the next time you're in the car or at the gym, look us up by typing in Black Tie Optional Podcast. Again, thanks so much for watching and listening, and until next time, stay motivated.